Hello and welcome to our Free Flow Friday. I'm Lola. I'm here with Alexis. And today we have a special Free Flow Friday because it's for beginners. It's for anyone who is new to this practice, who's maybe never heard of it. If any of you watching have people in your life who go, what is Jin Cheng? What is this thing you do? This is the video for them.
And why did you come up with this idea? What was your idea actually?
Yeah, well, I just felt, we go pretty in depth in these videos and our posts and discussions, and I know so many people in our community do have a really deep understanding of this art, but I know for me personally, I'm still relatively new to the art of Jin Cheng, and I just thought as our community is growing, our mission is to open up the world to the art of Jin Cheng. So I thought let's go back to square one.
Okay, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I sometimes get off on a roll and put in too many things and it becomes complicated. And we really, to keep it simple is really such a big part of the art.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's a nice dynamic between us, because it's like you have almost 30 years of experience with this, right?
Yeah.
And then I have the beginner's mind, so I think it balances each other.
Yeah.
And so as we go through this, please, if you have questions you want us to address, ask us. But we'll start off and I'll just be asking Alexis questions. So thanks for tuning in. All right, so my first question would be, most simply, how would you describe what Jin Cheng is?
Mm-hmm. So this is, for example, if you would be at a cocktail party and say, what do you do?
Yes.
And I practice.
Yeah.
All right. So Jin Cheng is a form of energy medicine. It's similar to acupuncture, but we use our hands, which makes it also very easy to do on yourself.
Okay.
It's a very simple, easy explanation.
Yeah, so you say it's similar to acupuncture. Does it use the same locations on the body as we do in acupuncture?
Well, in Jin Cheng, we use 26 locations, and most often they are on the meridians that we all know. But Jeremiah did his own research, and so his energy pathways are slightly different from the other meridians that they use in acupuncture or shiatsu, but they are similar.
So you mentioned Mirai. Who is Mirai? And maybe also you can go into the origins, like where does Jin Cheng come from?
Well, Jeremiah is the father of Jin Cheng Jitsu, and he was really the one that developed it. He did all the research and he put this whole system together.
Okay.
He was born in Japan, so the art in and of itself is not Japanese, because when you work with universal energy, it is really universal.
Yeah.
However, it was born in Japan, originated in Japan.
Okay, so it has similar roots to acupuncture.
Absolutely. Yes, they're all a form really of traditional Oriental medicine, so based on the same things, and they really come from ancient traditions as well. Like Reiki, Reiki, acupuncture, all these are similar modalities.
Yeah, and before I touch upon Reiki, then could you explain why it's called Jin Cheng? Like, what does that mean? And why do you call it the art of Jin Cheng as opposed to, people ask me all the time, oh, are you talking about Jin Cheng Jitsu?
So Jeremiah, he really thought about what to name it, and he finally decided on Jin Cheng Jitsu. So Jin means us human beings, Shin means creator, and Jitsu means art. So it's really the art delivered through the creator's art, really delivered through us human beings. So it is really a creative process, and that's why he called it art, even though art means it's a masterful skill. If you look it up in the dictionary, jitsu means art, which is a masterful skill. So there is a very vast technique to Jin Cheng, which I've been practicing and learning for 30 years already, and I'm still learning and growing. And at the same time, it's an art. That's why anybody can start, and wherever you start, it can be effective. It will be effective, and you can start very, very simple, and then build on it. So some people take it like me to a lifetime study, and others take it just holding a finger or just helping themselves in a very simple way.
Yeah, I love that. So you said it's a form of energy medicine. So how does it relate or differ from something like Reiki? I think when people hear energy healing, they think of Reiki as well.
I mean, they are different systems, and they were brought forth by different people. Personally, I believe that all these ways of working with energy are similar, because we are not giving our own inner energy. We really connect to universal energy or consciousness. And so that's we call it seventh depth, or the light that we're working with when you place your hands. Now, when the energy starts to move in the body, be it acupuncture, shiatsu, Reiki, Jin Cheng Jitsu, it's similar because the energy starts to move. So we put a name on it, but it's still, it's still the same. Does that make sense? Or yoga or meditation. You also move the energy with yoga in a physical way.
Right.
But as soon as you get the energy to move, they all are similar and overlap.
Yeah. So building upon that, I do feel, and it's been beautiful to watch how more widespread practices like yoga, meditation, acupuncture have been in the Western world. Why do you think Jin Cheng Jitsu is still such a lesser known practice?
Yeah, so let me tie in on your previous question, why do I call it the art of Jin Cheng? And I think one of the problems is that it's very hard for people to remember the name. It's like, what do you do? Jin Cheng Jitsu. And then if you tell this to friends or at a party even or something, nobody can remember it. It took me a whole week to learn to say Jin Cheng Jitsu.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm calling it the art of Jin Cheng. So it means the same because Jitsu means art, but it's just easier for people to remember. And it seems like younger people are starting to call it Jin Cheng, which is kind of the short version.
Well, and I know for me, when I hear Jitsu, I think of like jujitsu. Like, is this a form of martial arts? Like, are we wrestling? I think that also the Jitsu has that connotation.
Absolutely. So what was your question?
So why is yoga, acupuncture, even my dad, who's a very logical, more left brain man, it like goes to get acupuncture, but wasn't familiar with Jin Cheng before.
I think a few reasons. Jeremiah trained two main people, Mary Burmeister, who brought it to the West, and Haruki Kato, who stayed in Japan. So Mary really did spread it, and she did a lot of her own work with it, creating the textbooks and really introducing it in Europe. It's very popular there. I think one of the things is that they wanted very much the organization to keep the integrity to the art, which I completely agree with, and I'm not changing anything. However, I do feel that young people and next generation also needs to know it, and what I find is that it hasn't been introduced to as many people. So that's where we have come in the Jin Cheng Institute, is to make it very accessible and easy for the younger generation. So, and to really then spread it, to make it in a way also that, well, it's not necessarily a lifetime study. You can practice very simple things and you're practicing the art.
Yeah.
Does that answer the question?
So to me, it sounds like we're really just like at an exciting time, because it's like you're at the forefront, I imagine 20, 30 years ago, people weren't there weren't yoga studios everywhere. There wasn't like acupuncture really widespread. So maybe in the next 10, 20 years, like Jin Cheng will become more of that like widely known.
I think that is wonderful. I mean, Jir Marai did his thing with it, and then Mary did her thing, which great contribution to Mary Burmeister. And then the teachers that went out to teach it and spread it, but it was still very contained. And so Jin Cheng Institute is really about opening it up to a larger audience.
Yeah. So
what did you first think when you heard about it, when you went to look at the website?
Yeah, I was telling Alexis, you know, before I started working here, when I went to the website, because I had never heard of Jin Cheng, and what really helped was watching the video and, you know, describing it as like your hands are jumper cables. And I believe it was Kobe in the video who said, you know, it was something that once she just felt it, she felt the magic of it. And I think that's with so many things in life. Like you can read about it, you can, you know the benefits of say meditation or yoga, but then it's like you have a practice and then you realize like, oh, I feel it. Okay. And so that really cued me into like, oh, this is something I just need to experience for myself.
And you can really resolve issues with it.
Yeah.
People come with symptoms
most
of the time.
Yeah.
Be it anxiety or depression or, you know.
Yeah. And I think in that regard, that's what makes it unique is it's almost like body work fused with energy healing, you know? It's like, it's not like going to get a massage, but it is similar in that it addresses very specific physical symptoms.
It does, yeah. Right. Yes.
Yeah. I have so many questions. And again, if anyone's watching and you have questions you want me to ask, please feel free. But so another question.
Lola, right?
Yeah. So another question I had was, so if I learn how to do certain things on myself, if that's what makes it easier than say acupuncture, like I can use my hands, why would I go get a session done by someone else?
Yes, a couple of reasons. People often come with lifetime projects. We call them projects, right? Problems, we turn them into projects. So they've had it for 20, 25 years, or you know, or they have very serious label or diseases. And sometimes it's very helpful to get support from a practitioner because most of the time they are more experienced. And also it does work a little bit differently when you apply your hands to somebody else or when you apply them to yourself. They're energetically, there's a little bit of a difference. And also as a practitioner, you've studied probably more materials, and the treatment plan that you put together is probably different than what the self-help you would do. So Jir Marai, he really, when he went around the country and did all his research, he treated people once a month, and then he would give them self-help, and they had to promise him that they would do it every day, otherwise he wouldn't see them anymore. So they maintained their body with the self-help, and then he would give treatments, you know. But the more you study, the more comprehensive treatments plans you can make.
Yeah, I love that. So it's like we each have to take responsibility for ourselves and not just think, oh, I'm just gonna wait till my next session, you know, especially in times like this when, you know, people can't come and say, see you.
Exactly.
You know,
I mean,
time for
all of my clients, they have their self-help routine. So yes, again, then it's very helpful, and so do I. But when people come, you know, when we're getting back together, then I will get my sessions again because they feel wonderful. They're very relaxing and brings you in a very meditative state. So it just feels very wonderful as well. And so it does a lot of good.
Yeah. Well, two more questions related to that I have. Let's say I want to explore, you know, some self-help on myself, but I'm intimidated because of maybe I don't have the best understanding of anatomy and the physical, you know, body, is that gonna stand in the way of?
No, I mean, it really is not, because, for example, when you have pain in the liver area, you can do something with the waistline or SELs 14. Now, as a practitioner, particularly, I do think it's helpful for people when they come with diseases or labels, that we understand it, so that we know,
Yeah, of course.
that we know how to work with it. But for self-help, you really don't need to know. I mean, also all the, I outlined it in the book very clearly, like for this and for that, you can just apply these holds.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's gonna help. And
Yeah.
those holds are based on a decision I made, because there's always many different ways to go about a project. And so I made a decision to put this one in the book, even though there are many other ways to go about it, and that's where it's an art. So in that way, there's no right or wrong, right? People sometimes say, do I do this wrong? And no, you probably do it right. Even if you change your hands different than it is mentioned in the book, it's probably exactly what you need. And there is an answer and explanation for all of it. So it's not like, well, for some reason I have to hold this. I mean, we can explain all of it. That's where the technique part comes in.
Yeah. And speaking of technique, what do you tell people when they ask, how long do I hold it for? You know, I think that is probably one of the more common questions.
Can you answer that by now?
Yeah, good. Test me.
Yes.
So
How long do you
I've
hold it?
learned is you hold, if you're holding two different points, you hold it till you feel a pulsation in each area, and you want to have them start to even out, you know, and come into almost like sync with each other. And if you can't feel the pulsation, to hold for 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's a very good way. Yeah. Fast. It's very simple, really.
Yeah.
Sometimes people hold it just for a moment when they're not aware, and then you're already practicing as well.
Yeah.
So there's not really any rules to it. See what feels good, but just to give you a guideline, Mary Burmeister said it takes 20 minutes to complete a circulation pattern, and you can feel that when you give yourself a flow, 20 minutes is a really good time to take to practice a flow.
Okay, that's great. So even though there are no rules, it seems like that's like a nice guideline to this art. Do you have any other guidelines you would say?
Yeah, people ask, like, do you press, do you hold? And you hold it. I sometimes say I hold it firmly, but I don't press. Like, see if you feel the difference. Like, now I'm pressing, and now I'm holding it firmly. You feel the difference?
Yeah.
So when you hold it too tightly, you stop that. You interrupt that pattern of the cycling of the energy to core and coming back out to surface. That gets interrupted. So when you hold it is when you allow for this SEL to come to the surface, to your fingertips, and that's when you feel the pulsation.
Yeah, I know that from what I've heard, you have a more firmer touch than maybe others. But again, that's why it just differs person to person. What would be some other guidelines? Like, for instance, with the breath?
Have fun. That's one big one. Is always have fun with it and enjoy and feel good, and in that way, the no rules. Like, just really enjoy it and give yourself a little session. As far as what?
So the breath.
The breath. It's important that you're not holding your breath, but that the Jin Cheng will allow you automatically to get into the breath.
Okay.
So even if you don't think, I have to breathe, I have to do the deep breathing, it's going to happen automatically. But just to have the awareness of the breath, of the energy moving down the front of the body and up the back, because that's how it cycles. So it just deepens your awareness.
Okay, so it's up the back, down the front, and
that's the inhale up the back and the exhale down the front.
And where are we breathing? Through our nose, mouth, chest, belly?
I mean, the breathing is really in the belly. That's where the autonomic nervous system kicks in. If you do This kind of breathing, that's our sympathetic nervous system, the fight and flight. So you want to rest and digest, which is in the belly.
Yeah.
And so you can breathe through your nose, but there's not really any like rules about it. Again, however you can bring your breath into the belly and really into the body.
And in that regard, is it similar or a replacement to meditation? Like, let's say someone has a meditation practice. Do they add it to that? Could it replace it?
I mean, meditation is all about getting in between our thoughts in this gap. And so the practice of Jin Cheng, the art of Jin Cheng, can also take you to that place. It can also be a nice preparation before you meditate, because it does bring you into harmony. It's like when you practice yoga and you work your mind. It's a mind training, and you work your body and you're exhausted and you go into shavasana, right? It's that place. So Jin Cheng will bring you to that place where you then will be in a meditative state. So you can play with that and see what works for you.
I love that. Yeah. Again, it's like, from what I've learned and experienced, there's no right or wrong, and it's just like a never-ending healing journey that you can like learn as little or as much as you want. And I'm gonna check on our questions. 20 years ago, I had a Jin Cheng practitioner. Is it helpful to hold longer? That was asked by Patricia.
Hi, Patricia. You can definitely hold longer. As a matter of fact, you can hold as long as you like. This is really for the self-help, and that's really what we're talking about today. You can hold, so when the pulses are even, you can still hold it longer, or you can move to the next place. And that's really where it feels good for you. And one day you may want to hold it for a long time, and another day you may want to move through it quicker. Also, as you work on it one day, it will probably be open the next day. And then you need to hold it shorter. So really play with that and see what feels good to you. It's really an individual art, and that's what makes it so wonderful too. You can really individualize it to yourself, which flows work for you on which day. I mean, my clients, they explore a lot and say, oh, this week I've been really working with the bladder flow, and then the following week they work with another one, and then you start to get a repertoire of different flows that are your favorites.
So if I wanted to start learning on my own and was like, all right, let me get into Jin Cheng, where would be a good place to start as far as learning?
As far as learning, the easiest is, I think, to hold the fingers.
Okay.
What is that?
I meant,
what do you mean? Like where?
I meant maybe perhaps a book.
Oh! Well, you're going to talk about that. You're going to talk about my book.
Well, okay. Since I will speak on Alexis's behalf, I would just personally say, for so many levels, whether you're a beginner or, more advanced, that the art of Jin Cheng is a good place to start. But okay, diving into the book, let's say I just wanted to learn a few holds, just to start. I want to experience and have the feeling of Jin Cheng.
Or something you could teach to your dad, for example. Yes. So definitely the fingers first. Okay. That's a good place to start. And then another good place to start is 11 and 15.
Okay.
And 11 and 25. Because that's a quick key for the quick hold for the supervisor flow. And the supervisor flow helps all the safety energy locations in the body. So by doing this, you're helping all 26.
Wow.
Yeah. 26 on the right side, and then 26 on the left side.
So you do both of those?
Because if 11 and 15 helps the energy to move down.
Okay. So
that it can ascend. It's important that both the front and the back are open. Again, there is no rules. If you just need this today, then you can just do this. But this is like the complete flow.
Or I feel like even just this, you just see people
Yeah.
do this all the time.
Absolutely. You're holding here SEL11, which helps to unload. It helps to release stress, daily stresses, physical stresses, emotional stresses, all of them. So you see people doing this all the time. So Jin Cheng really is an innate part of us. We are all born with this knowledge, because you see babies very often, they're like, when they sent out the, how do you call it? The announcement card that the baby is born.
Oh, yeah.
Very often they're like holding the entire stomach flow,
Oh.
which is appropriate for babies. So we come into the world with this, and you see babies in utero, they're sucking their thumbs. You can see that on sonograms.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's beautiful.
So yeah, anything. You see people holding arms, fingers, yeah.
So yes, you would say, because I feel like probably some of the most common ones are related to energy, fatigue and energy.
This one?
Okay.
25 helps. I mean, so much is in 11 and 15, 11 and 25. Probably all of your questions can be answered by that. It's really about getting the energy to move in the body. And so this one is great. This 25 is the regenerator. It helps to regenerate the whole body.
So 25 is on the sits bone?
On the sits bone. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, again, if anyone has any last minute questions, you can write them now, but
is there anything?
No, I think that was all.
Great. Yes, we created this webinar.
Yeah.
Beginnings, and Lola's in it as well. And this is really an act of love for me. First of all, the book, The Art of Jin Cheng, and as well as the webinar, to really make it easy, accessible for beginners. And I got in this course, Beginnings, I guide people through every hold and every step and talk about it, so you can take parts of the book and then watch the video with it, which is, I think, really helpful.
It feels like such a complete way of learning. I love reading, but I think sometimes with these kinds of practices, actually hearing someone talk about it and watching them go through it is like invaluable, and being able to understand, so the pictures say this, and then you can watch Alexis and Kobe explain it. So.
Yeah, we had a great time creating it.
Yeah.
With Kobe, so it was
amazing.
Yeah, we really had fun. So
yeah,
it's not going to be too boring.
No, I think, and especially now, having this time, it's just so wonderful that we can dive into these things that maybe we wouldn't have had time to otherwise. Sound is
low. All right, let's give ourselves a big hug just to end, because that's another wonderful, besides the one that I just showed you before, holding the 22s and the 26, we call this the big hug, and this is so nice to do if you can't hug others today, right? Because of our quarantine situation, we can at least hug ourselves.
Yeah.
With the 22s, you're helping the exhale and allowing for the unloading, and with the 22 and then with the 26, you're allowing for the inhale and the building and the receiving. So this is just a wonderful hold for everybody to do, even if you don't know about Jin Cheng. And the first thing you can do is give yourself a big hug.
Oh, I love it, and it just feels good, right?
Yeah.
Just holding yourself. All right, and what are you doing? What you're doing will help many. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, and you can share this video with people if you want to introduce them to it. And asking, what do you do?
Yeah, I think
And yeah, we are always here and available for you at Jin Cheng Institute if you have any questions or anything to discuss. We are here.
Yes, we are. And then you can tune in with us tomorrow again for the House of Jin Cheng, and on Sunday for a special Zoom and Connect.
Can you say about the time?
Yeah, it will be at 2 p.m. This Sunday. So I'll send out another announcement, but 2 p.m., mark it on your calendar. and we'll actually be discussing Jin Cheng and Reiki.
Yeah, well, it's with Pamela Miles, who's a big international Reiki master.
Yes.
So we'll have a fun discussion.
Yeah.
So please join us there.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful day.
All right. Thank you, everyone.